Hello, Professor of the Internet. Today, I will be attempting to be building a competitor to a 2018 car, the Volkswagen Up GTI, because in this case, I think I should easily be able to do better. Why? Because Volkswagen themselves did better by making the Lupo GTI 18 years ago. Well, as of this point in the game. And apparently, there's no cars from 2018. Is it because I selected last 5 years? Very odd. Maybe I'll just have to look through this way then. Body type. I think we want a hatchback of sorts, so maybe a fastback would work. But we don't want big trucks and big convertibles and vans and everything, so they can all go. And let's see what we have left. We have a 1975 coupe. Nah, we won't be using anything that old. But as I was saying, for us, the Lupo GTI, it was actually slightly heavier than the Up, yes, but more powerful as well. And I don't really get why you would make such a fuss about the Volkswagen Up GTI. They could have done something special, but they just didn't. And that's why I would like to do something special. 2003 van. This looks interesting if they have a passenger variant. We have a 2005 convertible. We have that convertible. There's a few vehicles. Many of them are, I think, too big. To be honest, that's a bit too old for what I'm trying to go for. That is too old, definitely. It's just complicated to find it. When I find my body, I will proceed to build one. To be honest, I think that might just be the closest we have to the Up, so I'm going with this one. Although it's an old body by this stage, although it is a however much 23-year-old body, that's what I think I'll have to go with. Now, aluminium body shouldn't be too unrealistic, and I'll go with a AHS steel unitary. I think that's realistic enough for this point in time. It'll be a transverse engine with a first and strut suspension front, and could we go with torsion beam? I don't know, but I want it to be... Do I want it to be comfortable? I want it to be sporty. So I'm thinking I'll do something like the Civics had. I think it's reasonably sporty, apparently. So it tells me. Trailing arm is a really sporty option, though. That's what they have on old BMWs. Double wishbone as well, pretty sporty, but that would easily exceed what we have on the front. I mean, for a basic car, I just fail to see the problem with torsion beam. I mean, it's a basic suspension that does a basic job. What really do you want it to do? If we stick the body on now, we can maybe remove a body and see our chassis. Yeah, there it is. We could probably mount the engine in the back. I think you can on this body. No, you can't. I'm sure you used to be able to, mind. Moving on anyway. I do have to design a front end. I think that's a newer paint I've created, so I'll use this one for now. Oh, look at that. Look, this is just madness. What have I done? I may have just ruined everything. I know, I'm recovering it somewhat. Let's make it somewhat aerodynamic. You can really play with the design on this, so you can really flex it about. And bring that around. Like so. Ooh. As I say, it gives you a lot of flexibility, that's for sure. It's not one of those cars where you can't do anything with it. Should I do a Prius with the back? Sadly, I don't think I can add a window on the top if I do that. Although it would look pretty neat, I think, personally. Looks a bit like a 2CV now. Raise that up. And we need some fender flares. As so it is. to help deal with our hopefully wider tyres that we will be putting on this thing. Now, I'll have to try and design a modern car. Let's see how it's the best way I can describe them. Two little R2-D2s on your car. The critically acclaimed city car is about to get ruined by me. There we go. I don't like it, but if people buy it, then I'm happy enough. Now, we don't want that. There's this one. Oh, where am I going? So, you can stretch out, hopefully. And stretch down. There we go. Look at this for a beauty. Yes. Everyone wants one as their first car. Well, not really. It's pretty disgustingly ugly, actually. If I bring it in just a bit, maybe I can make it work. Well, actually, no. I've got a better idea. I'm even defying myself now. Indicators. Although I'll probably have some already. You can fit right there. Look at that. Lovely. It's not lovely. Yeah, the ghost doesn't know which side of the grill is on. Oh, it's trapped behind bars. Poor thing. No, I want to grab the ghost. Try this one. No, they don't know what part of the grill they're on. Okay. I need to add one of those to the rear as well while I'm here. You can go there, like so. And move round to the front where I'll try something stupid. Let's have a smiling car, yes. Let's have a very, very smiley, happy car. I see no reason not to. And we can have little side grills as well, perhaps. Ooh, we need a scoop or something of the sort. It is a sports car after all. This looks hideous. Oh well. It looks a bit like a fish. It looks like a fish that tries to make friends with humanity, but scares them off instead. Right, so these two can plop right here. And maybe go around there like good little grillets. That's not a good little grillet. That's trying to escape my grasp. No, I mean it's trying to enter my grasp even. There is a difference, and I will find out what it is between entering and exiting my grasp. Time to rotate to you. And there we go. Number plates. Automation. Indeed, the best design ever. Now, I don't think so. No one said ever the best design ever. Is this? Now, I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it at the front for now. I think I'll come back. I've spent long enough on this. Now. Ooh. Inline 3 turbo sounds in with the times. Aluminium. This is what I'm thinking of. Single overhead cam. Although dual overhead cam is pretty common these days as well. And it would give me better statistics. So that's what I'll go with. But I want single because it's simpler. Oh, my mind's having a bit of a funny decisive moment. Overhead cam because the engineering time's lower. There we go. And we can have some cast internals and less better is required. And we need a turbo. And VVT obviously. But I need to get myself together with where I am on the setup as well. Try the medium intercooler. I may need to go larger than that, but for the time being, I don't want to go too crazively massive. Yes, crazive is a word now. And look at that, single point fuel injection. Nah, I'm going with multi-point. I mean, I've compromised by making it a single overhead cam. I see no reason I couldn't go with multi-point fuel injection. Could go with performance intake. I don't think we'll need it. Service costs are more expensive. And it is still going to be a cheap car, so I don't think it's really what we want. Look at that, that's a big cast iron turbo. That should all be aluminium on my fancy aluminium engine. Well, admittedly, I do have some cast iron bits, like in there. It does seem the cast iron has more texturing now. I could just be noticing things that I didn't notice before for whatever reason, but I do think there's more detail there. Go with regular fuel and rev it a little higher, and let's see what we're left with, hopefully. We've got to add some last things. Set up like that. Seems like a decent enough base setup, and there we go. Interesting. I made a full cast iron engine, and it was lighter than this. I'm pretty sure of that. It must be a turbo, though. Oh, so you'll see, I've messed it up completely. Don't touch things you don't know what you're doing, kids. 146, there is power to this. I think the Volkswagen Up is a 1.6. I don't know, though. If I just double check on here to see what it says. No, it just says engine. So I'm guessing they've not specified it yet. But either way, I've got a 1.5. It'll probably grow or shrink, or I don't know. I think I'll try a 1.4. Sounds about right, actually, when we have turbo power. Anyway, I'll let this run. So the lag is horrible, but as I say, it's in a very, very early iteration. I can probably get easily as much power as the Volkswagen, especially since I've got a turbocharger on it. It should be absolutely no issue at all. Now, if we look under here, we can peek at the engine. There we go. And we can actually remove the bonnet, as I've worked out. There we go. We've still got the fixtures on, but you can see the engine. And what else have we got to do? We've got to add to transmission. Yeah, automatic 9-speed now. In this kind of car, that would just be wrong. 6-speed manual seems like the kind of transmission to go for. Although I may make it a 7-speed. Seems ridiculous, but if I'm using some of the gears for economy, you know, it wouldn't be entirely unrealistic to have that extra gear there, but mounted somewhere up high. If I can show it somewhere far up high where you really wouldn't use it, but you might shift into it on the motorway or something to save a bit of fuel. Now we can go with some medium compound tyres. Remember, it's not going to be the hottest hatchback in the world. It's just going to be hotter than the average one. Ugh, what have that done to my headlights? What thou hast done, hath done. 195s, yes, beefy tyres. There we go. Lovely. Although it has ruined my headlights. You shall not be forgiven for this misdeed. And No, I'm on the wrong menu. There we go. I know. I'm getting used to Car Mechanic Simulator where it kind of auto zooms if you click from a very long distance away. In this, it doesn't do it. And that's sad for me. So you can sit right there. Not a perfect fit anymore, but it works. Yeah, the chassis just goes right through the headlights. I think that's a chassis. If I remove the fixtures and the body, I should be able to see. Oh yeah, it definitely is the chassis. Although it doesn't look like an integral structural component. It looks like you could remove it and work around the headlight there. So it's just the way automation's thinking. My engine's having all sorts of problems, by the way, might mention. I've got 185s, they are pretty big tyres, and hopefully I'm going to put down pretty big power. But I do need to go and install, hopefully, some stronger wheels and stuff for the sporting applications. 16s, they're pretty big. But I do like them. I like the look. It looks kind of ridiculous now, but I'm sure if I get the right wheels. Does carbon fibre look good now? It looks a bit wicey. Try steel again. I think it was already on steel. And how about these? No. They look good. Kind of hot rod look on a compact hatchback of sorts. Yeah, there we go. We need some brakes though. Now, again, because of a vehicle class, I think solid discs are the best way to go. I think we can go with solid discs all around. So, we shouldn't have to spend too much to get good braking performance out of this thing. 325 I would say is definitely overboard, though 295mm brakes should do it. And now I think about it, yeah, more practical would be 15-inch wheels. They still look good, but the tyre space isn't so tiny in all of that. Now, we can go with 275mm rear. I think that should do the trick. So we've got quite large disc brakes all around. Should help get it slowed very, very nicely indeed. Although, I believe the Honda City Turbo in the 1980s actually had the same setup for brakes. If it works, it works. I'm not throwing 900 horsepower through the wheels, so, you know, it's a fairly low power car still. Oh, and they're annoying me now, those little bits. I need to go back to them and adjust them. Come on, fit. There we go, that's just right. Now they're annoying me in other ways. Tip them that way slightly. No, tip them that way slightly more. I think that's it. I think that's done. Very, very good. So, what have we got here? We've got various bits. I think I'll go with a fully clad under tray. Keep this thing very, very aerodynamic, although it does take a lot more development time. I have to somehow keep it slippery. Now, do I want 4 or 5 seats? I think 4. Sport interior is quite expensive. Do we want it? Probably not. We want standard, I reckon, and standard infotainment. Just keep it as a standard interior. It doesn't have to be premium. I remember the Tortoise I put a premium interior on, but that was because I was trying to beat everyone in the competition. So I was trying to beat all the other cars of the era and make sure the quality was higher and everything. This, though, I think you don't really want to do that. If people are buying a car in this class, they don't really care about quality too much. They just want a cheap car that's reasonably reliable and, you know, won't fail them in the middle of somewhere where they really need it to work. Try no power steering, but I think I'll need to come back and put hydraulic. And traction assist 1, which is presumably just ABS. Go with that. And advanced 10's safety. So if we go with standard suspension as well. Gas mono tube for the dampers though, because it is a sport model, so we can have a slight upgrade there. Sport suspension as well. Might I mention while I'm here. Can we go along here? Where are we? 1067 kilograms. That's not too bad for a modern car. 62.7 for weight distribution, and I think we want power steering. Now, what's the difference in pricing and performance? Engineering time is more for this, but then... So we've got hydraulic or electric, I think I'll choose for engineering time reasons. If electric is better, I don't know. So, for reliability, electric is apparently better. But not as good for sportiness. And we are building a sporty car here, so I'll go with hydraulic then. Unless the electric is significantly cheaper, and no, I think they cost exactly the same. So that's something to mention. Now, what I've got to do is I've got to finish this engine, take it around the track, and then I will return. Okay, so here I return with many changes and a time, which is actually surprisingly impressive, even for me, and what I had expected from it. It's a 2:31.17. I did a lap just before this. I wanted to see if the trim made any difference. It didn't seem to make any major differences, so I'll use the quicker time of the two I did. You'll see the trim I'm speaking of as well, I have just added some things on. It's not a perfect design, but it works well enough. The rear is a bit under-designed compared to the front, admittedly. And I'm thinking it does look a bit like a Citroen C3, if I recall correctly. Is it a C3? I don't know. It looks like some kind of Citroen from the front that's been completely wiced out. Anyway, I can take the body off, hopefully, and show you the... what was it called? Engine? Yes, I remember the name of that block that sits in the front of the car. Yep, you'll see there's a little 1.4 inline 3 with the turbo on it. I'll go into it more later, but you'll see it's not a huge turbo, but that's all it needs to pull itself up to quite a high level of power, actually. Anyway, if we put the body back on and the trim back on, I can talk through some of the stuff here. It's got 64% almost front weight distribution. It's got surprisingly good 33.3 miles per gallon. I know the Lupo has 38, but this has more power, which I'll get into later. The cost, I've managed to keep it down to under 15,000 material cost with 30%, so if we lower that, it'll be a lot lower. But I've done that because of the development cost and everything, so I wanted to make sure it could be developed for that money, which is, I don't know, I know the Up is supposed to cost £15,000, so I just went with dollars on this. Seems to work out for me. I've got various bits here, mainly the dampers are the only upgrade. You'll see here, I've got basic infotainment. That saved a bit of weight and it saved a bit of money, so I went with that. It's also not the kind of thing you would desperately worry about when you're buying a sportier car. So, all in all, a decent enough decision. Now, the undertray is still fully clad. I have got cooling flaps because they generally improve aerodynamics, so I wanted them. The front brakes are 2 piston vented discs, and the rears are the same as they were, pretty much, maybe slightly larger. I think I enlarged them by 10mm from what they were to kind of compensate for the lack of technology on them, but most of the braking is done at the front anyway. Tyres are all the same. I tried making them narrower, I tried making them lower compound. It both ways didn't go well, so I didn't keep it ultimately. And why am I going off that? You'll see, I only get 4 gears you can really use as a track car. That's just the way it's geared. It's still 7.30 to 60, 8.0 for the Lupo, so that's good. I don't know about the Up, but the Lupo is 8 seconds and it's quicker than that, so yeah. Now, when you see the engine in this thing, you won't believe it couldn't be quicker. If I'm even making sense of myself anymore. 116.4 kilograms, weight isn't ridiculous. Also, the Lupo has a 1.6, but I have a 1.4 with a huge turbo, and oh dear. Now, I don't know why it's done this, but it's messed up the engine again. I'm not kidding, it was making 200 horsepower. You'll see there it almost was. I don't know. I don't know if I touched something on the engine by accident. I don't know what happened, but it was definitely making 200 horsepower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly cut this and I'm going to return. If the time has changed, I will tell you. Okay, so I've returned and I have the engine working now. Maybe a bit more turbo lag than I would like, but you know, it functions and it makes 203 horsepower. I've gone a little crazy, I will admit, for this class of car, and the way I have done that is by going for direct injection. That's it. That's all I needed. Oh, and the performance intake. But that's all I needed to get it up to these power levels, and it is surprisingly capable now. Probably more capable than it should be. Now, I could make the exhaust bigger and, yeah, you'll see, get a bit more power out of it that way. But I don't want to. If you look down here, it's a huge thing as it is. Admittedly, it's a tiny turbo and a tiny engine, but it's still quite a large exhaust, even with that taken into consideration. Still, let's see what it sounds like. There we go. It sounds, I think, surprisingly characterful for just a little 3-cylinder, and you don't really hear the turbo, although I'm pretty sure that's making something like 70 of the 200 horsepower. You don't really hear it doing its job, which I find quite interesting. It's not that reliant on the turbocharger compared to certain other engines I've built. Either that or the sound has been toned down compared to previous iterations of the game. Anyway, I got a new time as well. Presumably because the engine's working now. I got a good time while it was working as well, might mention. So, the new time is 2:29.97, just barely under 2 minutes 30, but I'll take it, you know, because it's there, it's done well as well. It's between the Coupe non-turbo, which was a competitor to the Fiat Coupe I made, and the Core 2 Duo Super Sport van is what it's just beaten at 2:30.11. So this is a very capable car. Beat the Board Fox speed as well, which is the sporty version of the Board Foxes. And I'm impressed, you know, for what I had to work with. Mind the Board Foxes had a 1.2 litre, I think, so that was ridiculously limited in terms of what engine it could have. But it was also an older car, so what do you expect, you know? It beat that by about 2 seconds. No, exactly. I think 2 seconds, is it? Yeah, 2 seconds. I can count, honestly. But amazing that. 2 seconds specifically, though, to the point. Now, I'm happy with the design and happy with the colour, even. I could change it to red or something, but, you know, I don't see the problem with it as it is. So, I think I can leave it here. I'll do some bodywork removal on here to show you the bits. Body, bonnet. Oh, body has to be on for that. Can move the chassis and look at the brakes and stuff. Have a look at that then. There we go, and there we go, brakes. What do you expect brakes to look like? But anyway, we maybe have the suspension. No? How very odd. Unless suspension is part of a chassis. Come on, I must show people the suspension. Did it with the old torsion beam. It is surprisingly similar to the Board Foxes, I'll say that now. And that is barely a bad thing, because the Board Foxes, although it weren't the most monstrous vehicle in the world, it was still a nice vehicle. Still quite a well-engineered vehicle, I think, at least to my standards, so I think I've done well. But anyway, also better miles per gallon with this now. With more power comes better miles per gallon. It's 3.5 below the Lupo now, and that's not bad for a performance. But I'm getting sidetracked, so I'm going to go now, and I'll say goodbye until another day.